Welcome to The Explainer. All right, if you're serious about acing your LECPA, you know that mastering obligations is absolutely non-negotiable. So today, we're cracking the code on the #1 way to extinguish a debt: payment. Let's make sure this stuff really sticks, all the way to exam day and beyond.
Okay, let's jump right in with a scenario. Imagine you're in this game, this financial tug of war. You owe someone money. What's your ultimate power move? How do you make that debt just disappear, legally speaking?
You guessed it, the answer, and the most common way to end an obligation is simply through payment or performance. Think of it as the final boss of debt, and today we're handing you the complete playbook to win every single time.
But wait, mastering payment isn't just about handing over some cash. It actually starts with a question that trips up a lot of students. Who is actually allowed to make the payment? You might think it's only the debtor, but nope, the law has some very specific rules here.
So picture this. You owe some money, and your best friend, being awesome, offers to pay it for you. Seems simple, right? Well, in the eyes of the law, it makes a huge difference whether you said, yes, please, or if they just did it as a surprise. It completely changes the game. Okay, you're going to want to screenshot this because consent becomes a superpower here. If your friend pays with your permission, they get to ask for the full amount back from you. And more importantly, they get this amazing power called subrogation. But if they pay without your consent, they can only get back the part that was actually beneficial to you. And they get zero subrogation rights. Why? Well, the law is basically protecting you, the debtor, from having some new creditor you never agreed to suddenly forced on you. So let's zoom in on that word, subrogation. Think of it like a massive power-up in a video game. It means the person who paid for you doesn't just get their money back. They literally step into the original creditor's shoes. They get all their rights, like going after a guarantor, or even foreclosing a mortgage. It's a huge, huge advantage that you only get with the debtor's okay. And here's a little study hack for you. Just think of it like your friend buying you coffee. For it to be a real legal gift, a donation, you have to actually agree to accept it. If you don't say thanks and accept, it's not technically a donation. And we go back to those reimbursement rules we just talked about. See? Simple. All right, on to our second big W, and this one is just as critical. You have the money ready, but who do you actually give it to? Because paying the wrong person is a costly mistake. Seriously, it could mean you have to pay all over again.
Now, the law keeps it pretty simple here. To be valid, your payment has to go to one of three people: the creditor themselves, their successor in interest, like an heir if the creditor passes away, or any person who is officially authorized to receive it, like their agent. That's the list.
And heads up, this is a major exam trap. If you pay someone who is not on that official list, your payment is generally worthless. You might still owe the full amount. The only way out is if you can prove, and the burden of proof is on you, the debtor, that your payment actually somehow benefited the original creditor.
Okay, time for our third W. We know who can pay and whom to pay, but what are you paying with? What counts as a valid payment? Is it just cash? What's the deal with checks? Or, I don't know, a giant bag of 1 peso coins? Let's break it down. This is the classic question in Oblicon, right? In our day-to-day lives, we kind of treat them the same, but legally, oh, they are worlds apart. Getting this right is absolutely crucial for your exams. And this slide says it all. Under Article 124.9, cash, we're talking Philippine currency, is legal tender. The creditor has to accept it. A check, however, is not legal tender. You can think of it as a promise to pay, not the payment itself. That's why a creditor can legally say, nope, I want cash, because there's always that risk it could bounce, right? The debt is only truly gone when that check is successfully cashed. And for those tricky multiple choice questions, you gotta memorize these limits and take note of the recent updates from the Banco Central. For coins that are 1 peso and up, the limit is now 2,000 pesos. For those centavo coins, it's 200. Don't let an old number trip you up on the exam.
Now, this is a really interesting one, especially for long-term debts. Article 1250 is basically a fairness rule. It protects both sides from crazy changes in currency value. So if you borrowed 1,000 pesos back when that could buy, say, 10 sacks of rice, you'll need to pay back whatever amount can still buy 10 sacks of rice today, even if that's now 10,000 pesos. It keeps things equitable over time. Let's move on to our final W. This is all about nailing down the correct place of payment. And no, it's not just wherever is most convenient. There's a specific legal hierarchy you have to follow.
So here's the key takeaway. You have to follow this order. No skipping steps. Step 1 always is check the contract. What did you guys agree on?
If there's nothing in the agreement and we're talking about a specific item, then it's wherever that item was when the deal was made. And if neither of those apply, then we fall back to the default rule, the debtor's home base.
Whew, we've just covered a ton of information. So let's run a quick diagnostic and lock all of this in. Here is your rapid-fire review of the 4 W's of payment. Think of it as your ultimate cheat sheet for long-term retention. First up, who? The main thing to remember is that a third party can pay, but the debtor's consent is the magic switch that unlocks full reimbursement and that game-changing power of subrogation. Second, WHOM. Always stick to that official list. Paying anyone else is a huge risk, and it could mean you haven't actually wiped out your debt.
Third, what? Just remember, legal tender is what counts. A check is just a piece of paper, a promise to pay, and it only really works its magic once it's been cashed.
And finally, fourth, where. Always follow that 3-step rule. Check the agreement first, then the location of the specific thing, and only then the debtor's domicile.
Okay, so you've done everything right. You're the right person paying the right person with the right amount of cash at the right place. But what happens if the creditor, for no good reason at all, just says no? So what do? Well, that is a fantastic question, and it's the perfect setup for our next explainer, where we'll cover 2 super important legal tools, tender of payment and consignation. See you then.